Now, I might be slightly biased in saying that Irish mythology is perhaps one of the most diverse and interesting pre-Christian belief systems that existed in Europe. And although many of the stories and tales that existed back then weren't really recorded, especially the earlier ones, it's very easy to see a distinct four-cycle system when it comes to Irish mythology. And these cycles are the Mythological Cycle, the Austere Cycle, the Fenian Cycle, and the Historical Cycle. Obviously there is some sort of outlying tales that don't fit in with the four-cycle system. However, there is a distinct timeline that exists throughout Irish mythology. In this video I'm basically going to be giving you an overview of the four cycles, and then what I will be doing is I'll be creating some additional videos that will follow on from this, that will go more in depth into each cycle. So it'll basically be a 4 or 5 part series on each cycle, and obviously the overview, and I may do a final video sort of concluding the series. And obviously we're going to go more in depth into each individual character, story, as time goes on. And I'm also going to be looking into some of the lesser known local folk stories and tales that exist, because each village in Ireland tends to have its own beliefs and stories that pertain to each location. So I'm going to be delving into those as well. Now, the Mythological Cycle is the first cycle, and this basically gives you an introduction into the old sort of deities and gods that the people were following at that time. Obviously, being the oldest cycle, it's the least well recorded. There's a few main sources that we have available for this cycle, including the Lore of Places, the Book of Invasions, and perhaps the most well-known tale from this cycle is the Children of Lir. And then we have the second cycle, which is the Austere Cycle, and this one mainly takes place in the provinces of Ulster and Connacht. And a lot of these stories you'll find pertain to Cuchulainn, a lot of his sort of stories, and also the Ulster king Conor MacNesha. A lot of stories pertain to him as well. You also find a lot of the same deities and gods showing up from the Mythological Cycle. They also come into the Ulster Cycle as well. And the Ulster Cycle is generally set around the 1st century. It's important that I point that out. Now, the Fenian Cycle takes place in the 3rd century. And this one you'll find generally pertains to the heroes of Irish mythology, a lot of heroicism in these stories. And also these stories mainly take place in Leinster and Munster, which is obviously the other 2 provinces. It's also important to note that the Irish language shows up a lot in this cycle, and also Scotland is a place that shows up quite often, especially the Irish-speaking community in Scotland. And you'll find a lot of the sources of these tales actually come from the Irish-speaking community in Scotland itself. Probably the most well-known stories from this cycle pertain to Finn MacCool and the Fianna, which is obviously his army. And also the story of Oisin and Tír na Nog comes from this one as well, which is another fairly well-known Irish tale. If you speak to anyone that knows anything about Irish mythology, Tír na Nog will come up quite often. And finally we have the Historical Cycle, and this is well known for being sort of a transition between Irish mythology and real life. You will see a lot of gods mixed in with real historical kings in this cycle. And basically this came about because back then the ancient kings of Ireland were hiring a lot of poets and bards to sort of make stories about their family line, and they would sort of merge their beliefs in with what actually happened. So you'll get like a nice blend. This kind of sets Irish mythology apart. Not a lot of belief systems in Europe from that time really blended history with mythology. There was always like a definitive line splitting the two. Obviously one of the most well-known from this cycle is Brian Boru. Now obviously this is just a basic overview of the cycle, as I'm going to go a lot more in depth in the following videos. Hopefully the sound quality on this is okay. I am filming this outside, as you can see. And this is Texas, by the way. Obviously I don't sound Texan because I wasn't born here, but I'm filming this in Texas. So hopefully the sound quality is okay. I know there's a lot of noise going on, there's a lot of birds and planes flying over and all that. But hopefully I can find a decent location where there's not much sound going on. But yeah, that's going to be my video. So if you want to leave some suggestions in the comments below on certain topics you'd like me to talk about in upcoming videos, feel free. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Ara Mahagat.